Hey makers, I'm so bloody excited for this little video. This is a extruded stripes video, and then at the end I've tacked on a few other little projects that you can do with your leftovers. So this is just a selection of colors. I decided I really wanted to go with warm tones, and these just all work really well. Most of them are scrap, so I don't have color recipes for them, unfortunately. Or if I do, I can't remember what they are. I'm so sorry. The one that I'm holding in my hand right now is the Citron color from Souffle, which I'm currently extremely obsessed with. So first of all, let's talk about extruders. An extruder is basically a tool that helps you make a whole lot of little noodles or snakes or coils, whatever you like to call them, strands of clay, all even sizes. It's basically this little windy contraption. You make sure that you have super nice soft conditioned clay in it, and then you pop a little disc on. Oh, I've sped this up so fast. Basically, I'm going through and conditioning every single one. I've conditioned every single one of those colors, and I'm extruding all the colors. Now, what's really important is what I just said before, is that you use really soft, nice conditioned clay. The second thing is cleaning in between each color. You don't need to go crazy. I just use a dry wipe and a needle tool. And actually, I think I stop here in a second and show you exactly what I do. So that's the top there. Now, if ever you find that you can't open it, or you feel like it's jammed when you go to unscrew it, just wind it back the other way, because generally it's because it's been wound up too high and then it's basically jammed. So I use my little needle tool just to get out all the little bits and pieces from the sides. Don't use wet wipes. This is what I've come up with. Now, these little strands are about 2 mil in thickness. What we're going to do is we are going to do some extruded stripes. Now, extruded stripes are a little bit time consuming just because of this process that I've just done. But that's because I've chosen to do like 7 different colors. So you don't have to do that. You can just do 2 colors, like black and white, or navy and lilac, or peach and green, whatever you like. Now, make sure that you trim off the edges so that you have a nice piece of base slab. Now, look, if you really want to, you don't have to use a base, but personally, I think you'll have a lot more strength in whatever you create by having a thinner base on the back. So this base is about 2 mils in thickness. It's all nicely rolled out and trimmed off, ready to go. We're going to grab our first strand. I'm going to call it a strand. Now, you have to pick and choose. You have to pick and choose. Not all of them are going to be perfect. So make sure you get one that doesn't have any holes and it's all nice and even. And your first one is the most important one. It's the one that you need to make sure it's even. So here I am using my depth guides. Don't worry about the slab, because I cut that a little bit crooked. I probably should have trimmed it, but I just want to talk about it for you. But make sure that you put pressure down and actually press it into the slab. So you'll see with every single one that I place on, I'm making sure that it's really, I roll it up towards the next piece. See, just being a bit fussy, making sure, yep, there we go, all right. Making sure that I have the perfect piece, and then I am smoothing it down to ensure that it's really straight. Now, let me say this, it does take time. It took me a lot of time. I know it seemed really fast, but it took me about an hour and a half to do all of that extruding and all those different colors. But if you want that effect, extruded stripes is the way to go. So I would never do this many colors in a stacked stripe or a traditional cane, because it would get too squashed having too many layers. So if you want to have, well, then again, you could do different canes, blah, 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 blah. But look, this is the easiest way. Now, a couple of things. You can't really do a pinstripe or different size stripes in this method unless you double up. I guess you could, but it would take ages, and then they would be quite big. So you're better off to just do single width stripe. So not like a pinstripe, just like a normal stripe. Now also here, I trim the edges off with a long blade, and then I realized that I wasn't filming, and then I'll come back and show you the strands. The key thing when we're doing here we go. When we're doing extruded stripes is that the width of your slab is the width of your hand span that I was just showing you there. You've got to make sure that your hands can go over top of that because when we go to our machine, which we're doing right now, this is my Lucy Clay tool. Yes, she's fancy. It's really important that when you do your stripes, you trim the edge so you have a nice flat edge. You sit it in and you put your hands either side with your thumb on one side and your whichever finger, your middle finger on the other side, and you guide that slab all the way through, right through. Leave your fingers there guiding it through so that it can't get any wider. And that, my friends, is how you get the perfect extruded stripe in one go. You should not have to put that back through. If you set up your machine to be the exact depth that you want and you do those stripes really beautifully and you trim the edges, you will have the perfect slab and it will look just like that. Now, I also use that method for putting my slab through for a cane technique as well. Now, look, I'm just going to be real with you here. My machine has so much crap in it that I just ended up with a whole lot of transfer on it. So get the alcohol and the cotton tip out and go in. Then I just cut out a whole lot of shapes that I'm really loving. These peace signs that I got custom made from Arc and Curve. I just wanted some really cute little shapes to have at my market actually last weekend. So when you're cutting it out, you're going to see in a second with the triangle, make sure that you line it up and do the same stripes if you're wanting them to be a pair. And make sure they're matching because I stuffed up my triangles and I'm going to show you in a second exactly what I mean. Because it's really noticeable with stripes. Here we go. See that? One's got crimson at the bottom and one's got peach because I didn't line them up properly. So I actually end up cutting something else out of those because it just doesn't work for me having misaligned stripes. They've got to be lined up, my friends. They've got to be lined up. But yeah, I love extruded stripes. If you want to do like a rainbow of colors or you want to do ombre colors and you just like, if you've got like 20 different colors you want to do it. Now I'm going to show you these pieces close up and we're going to finish them off. This is really simple to clean up. I usually just go in the inside with the blade and then sand them as per usual and a little bit of acetone on the back. Then I'm going to drill a hole at the top of the peace sign and use these black ball tops because they just look so good. You could also use a hook or another type of top, but I feel when I've got a component that's quite like I don't really want to take away from it, I want it to be the main feature, so I just want a really simple top situation. So I'm going to use my Dremel Micro. I use a 2mm drill bit at the moment, and I've been enjoying that. Although I feel like on some pieces it looks a little bit big, I just find it seems to work for most of my pieces. I'm using matte black 10mm jump rings here, and obviously they look amazing. Look at that. Beautiful. And then I think I also put a little bit of Renaissance wax on. I feel like I do. If I don't do it in the video, I do that anyway. Oh no, I'm going to do it. I can see it coming up. Renaissance wax, as you know, one of my favorite finishes for a beautiful matte finish. You can actually gloss it up by giving it a high buff or like buffing it intensely using a Dremel. But I really prefer the beautiful matte finish. So you just apply it and then basically use the other side of your cotton pad to just wipe it off, and it gives you a beautiful seal. Because polymer clay is already waterproof, you're not trying to seal it from being, it's just a nice finish on it. And I think it just not glossy, it's just right, guys, you know what I mean? And then I'll probably have a bit of a sniff of this because one of my favorite smells on earth. I don't know why. But whenever I open it, I will definitely inhale that smell for at least 30 seconds, at least. But look at this. It's so gorgeous. It's so nice. And those stripes are beautiful and even. So I reckon extruded stripes, they're just a totally different method. And it all comes down to that first strand that you lay out, making sure that it's nice and straight and secure. Now I have a whole lot. What am I going to do with them? This is the thing. Look at these beautiful extruded. So if you do this many, you don't need this many to do stripes. You're going to need to do some other projects. So because it was Rainbow Month last month, and this video was meant to go out last month for my Patreon, but I just ran out of time, and that's just life. It is Rainbow Month over there. So here we have some cute little rainbows. Now, this is how I've always done my rainbows. You can buy really fancy jigs from different suppliers that help you create a rainbow with a gap in the middle of it. But if ever I want a gap, I just use like a shape cutter or a template or something inside it to do that. So I don't necessarily think you need fancy tools, but it is nice to have them if you've got them. So all I'm doing is literally wrapping each strand around it and just choosing which colors I want to go where, and then I just trim it off as I go, but you don't have to. I'm starting out longer so that I can give myself, decide on what I want. And then on these ones, I'm actually going to frame them as well with a different color. So that's just a little bit different. And another way, so I'm not putting a backing on this. You totally could if you wanted added strength. But if you want to add extra strength after you've cured them, because really all they're doing is sort of sitting together. You don't want to squash them too much. You can use a bit of liquid clay on the back of them and put them in again to cure, and that way then you would have just a layer of strength on the back. And if you use a translucent, it's not even really going to be noticeable. But yeah, you can see here I'm just trimming off. I'm doing a really nice little frame with the crimson color, and I just think it makes them pop, and I really like it. So I plan to put these ones on a hook. I haven't finished them off yet, but that is what I will do. And easy as that. It's just going to go straight in the oven. So that's pretty simple. If you can hear my cat meowing, he's literally driving me crazy today, and there's nowhere in the house I can go where he doesn't meow. So all I had to do was put him out on the balcony, and he's still meowing. So there you go. This one here is kind of going to be the same concept, but I just decided I wanted to make some wriggly earrings. So I started off kind of making similar shapes. Now, if you wanted to make them more symmetrical and perfect, you could easily print out a template where you draw it on a piece of paper and then mirror it so that you get the exact same shape. But I wasn't too worried about it. I was kind of happy with it being organic, and it didn't really matter to me. And plus, I just wanted to play around with the leftover extruded strands that I had. So I decided to try this out where, again, I'm going to frame it with the crimson color, which I think looks really cute. And look, this breaks, and then I'm like, what do I do? So we try again. It seems to work. I just use my fingers to soften the clay a little bit so it doesn't crack, and then we just wrap it round. And I kind of really love this because I think it looks really cute. So then we trim, and then we wrap. Yes, a little trim. And then I decide I think we're going to do the other one, but I do end up squishing it together just a little bit more. But I really love this style. This cat, guys. Just trying to do a voiceover for a video. If it's not the kids, it's the cat. Oh my gosh. Anyway, how fun is this? I would kind of liken it to a 1970s swirly, fun little pattern. That one there needs to be a little bit smaller. I need to change that, but it's fine. I think I squish it up a little bit in a second. Do I not realize? Okay, well, it's totally uneven, but that's fine. Now, I'm getting a little bit triggered by that, but it still looks fun. I think they would look great as a statement stud or even a pendant, or you could hang them on a hook or a ball top. And this way I go a little bit smaller and decide to do just a little S shape, because S for Cherie, S for super cool, or S for stop. Okay, so basically all I'm doing is exactly the same as what I did to the other little ones that we played around with, and I'm just wrapping it. This time I'm wrapping it with the green, and it just looks so fun. And then we squish them all together, and these are going to make the perfect statement studs. I feel like there's so much potential to play around with extruded strands and make some really fun organic earrings. We're also going to make another pair in a second, and it's going to cut me off quite fast at the end of that. So I hope that you have really enjoyed this. I hope that you've learned something. If you haven't played around with extruded stripes, I think you should. The two tricks that you really need to know first is making sure your clay is really conditioned before you put it in the extruder, and then keeping your extruder nice and clean so you don't have too much color transfer. And then also with your extruded stripes, always using a backing, a backing slab so that they are ultimately really nice and strong. Ultimately strong? Okay. Anyway, watch here as I make some streaky bacon, because once I started creating these, I was like, these are so cute. And then I was like, hang on a minute, this is giving me streaky bacon vibes. So aside from the bacon vibes, they are really fun and there is a lot of movement in them, and it was really actually so fun to make them. So you can just manipulate the clay however you like. It can stick up, you can curve it, you can do whatever you like. What you need to think about is where the backing is going to sit, so making sure that you have a flat piece in your in your design so that you can put a backing on it, and then you can do this and curl up the edges and it will cure exactly like that. Now another thing I'm going to try, which we'll do another video for, is some knot earrings, which will also need to be extruded. Anyway, this was fun. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.